It's too sensitive as a topic to be done here.
But this is our living room. I mean, why can't we have this conversation here? It's important for me.
I agree, but I don't think so. I think we should avoid right now. Guys, I think, this is something which most of us have seen, happening in our household. We have seen people expressing, something very important. They want to have a conversation which is very sensitive to them, maybe about their health, their wealth, or anything, something very critical. But this is what we see. I am Ravindra Sharma here to talk about one of such conversations, a very important conversation that need to happen in our living room. We're going to use a filter about an illness which is struggling to get cured. Okay, and the major reason is that we are very uncomfortable talking about it in open to our loved ones. And for this journey, I have someone very special, and it's our privilege to have the lady with us, whose journey, no doubt, has been inspirational, okay, but it has been also empowering. तो छवि हम यहाँ किस लिए आए हैं और क्या बात करेंगे?
Thank you so much, Ravi, for that question. But before I answer that, hi guys, I'm Chhavi Mittal. I'm an actor, an entrepreneur, a content creator, a writer, author. I'm a lot of things. But I think the most important introduction that I have today is that I'm a cancer survivor. I'm a proud breast cancer survivor. And to answer Ravi's question, we're here to talk about how we can be ourselves, Just be yourself. Just be unabashedly yourself. Be unapologetically yourself. But we're also here to talk of how we can think about bringing about a change in the perspective towards breast cancer awareness. I was diagnosed a little less than 2 years ago with breast cancer, and it's never an easy thing to hear. You never want to hear that you have cancer because it's scary. It's the C word. Shh, we don't talk about it. And why do we feel like that? It's because of the conversations that we've been having in our living rooms all this while. I was lucky. I went in to get myself checked for a gym injury I had. Gym injury was nothing, but we discovered the cancer. I was lucky. We did not just discover the cancer, but we discovered it right on time. I spoke to my doctor and he told me, Chhavi, this is what your treatment is going to look like. You're going to be fine. We've got it in time. And I thought, when the expert is telling me this, then I have nothing to worry about, right? Here is when I got a new perspective towards cancer for the first time, because I was experiencing it firsthand. I have a lot of scars on my body today, but I also have a lot of scars on my soul. The scars on my body look beautiful, but the scars on my soul are what make me powerful and strong. As an actor, and I'm also a vlogger and a content creator, it's part of my job to share a lot of my personal life on social media. But was it okay for me to start talking about cancer? Were we ready to have that conversation? Was my community ready to have that conversation? I didn't know the answer to that when I started sharing my journey. All I knew was that I have to be myself. Unabashedly myself, unapologetically myself, because this was who I am now. And I used my social media platform as an actor to create awareness about breast cancer. But Ravi here is from the finance background.
Okay. So I'm basically from the field of finance industry. Okay, my primary job or my focus is to understand human behavior, understand what makes them take a certain decision. What triggers, them to make certain choices. What motivates them to have a certain act. So this is a part of my job, and that is where the inspiration that how can I, give back to the community and do something which motivates them to take make a very critical choice, which is self-care. The reason is because today more than 60% of the cancer cases are diagnosed in the last stage. And the irony or the pain is technically it can be avoided by a simple steps on a monthly basis. But we identified that women today are ignoring, you can say, or not aware, or they, due to their daily life, somewhere they are not able to do the self-care. And that's the trigger which gave us that how and where we can create something which is very simple to understand and inexpensive. So that's where the journey started 5 years back in 2018 of creating something which will help women do self-examination. And here we took the inspiration from Braille. We thought when a dot can communicate language and emotion, why can't this dot or the shapes teach us how to self-examine related to breast cancer? And that is the time the world's first device tool was created to self-examine through Braille. Okay, and the journey has been for last 5 years.
And
we have done it.
Ravi, you talk about it being inexpensive, which is great because in my experience, and you all will agree that medical devices are expensive, the checkups are expensive, the treatment is of course really expensive, but apart from being expensive, it's also very painful. Remember the living room conversations about the C word that we've all had? Cancer is associated with pain. I remember when I told my daughter about my cancer, she was 9 at the time. She was too young to understand cancer, but she was old enough to understand that cancer causes death. She started crying and she said, "Mama, are you dying?" And immediately I realized that there has been a major lack of communication here. I have failed to have that conversation in my own living room where I can tell my daughter the other perspective about cancer. It doesn't always kill. But was I really to blame? Because I myself had not been subjected to those conversations up until then. And this is how I explained it to her. I gave her an analogy. I told her that, remember when Mama was pregnant with your little brother? I went to the hospital, they cut open my tummy, they took out a little baby, they stitched me back up and they sent me home to recover. Just like that, I will go to the hospital, they'll cut open my breast, they'll take out the scary cancer, they'll throw it away, stitch me back up and send me home to recover. She was very happy to hear that, and she has been a very big support system in my cancer recovery. The perspective needed to change. But we all have heard stories, painful stories about cancer. We feel cancer is pain, it causes a lot of discomfort, and the recovery is so difficult, and it's a struggle to get back on your own 2 feet and have a chance at normal life again. But when I experienced this through my own journey, I felt, no. Just the way my daughter needed to hear that, there is also this perspective that needs to be shared with my community, and why not? I started telling people that, hey, here I am, recovering from my surgery, and I go to the gym in the morning, do whatever little bit I can. I go for my radiotherapy, I go to office, I'm fulfilling my responsibility as a working professional, as a mom of 2, I'm happy, and I'm doing everything that a regular person does. But when you have these conversations in your living room, these first-time conversations, it always invites a lot of questions. So when I started having these conversations on my social media, I also invited a lot of trolls. People actually questioned the authenticity of my very disease. They said, "You look happy, you don't have cancer, you're lying." They said, "Oh, you going to the gym? I think you're just trying to put the other cancer survivors down. You're showing off. You don't look like you're in pain, you don't have cancer." Do you understand? There was a desperate need to start a conversation which could be received well. People were more receptive towards it, ready to listen to those conversations, because up until now they've only listened to the horror stories, and that's what they've warmed up to. It's like if you're constantly hearing the same thing again and again and again in the same tone, people everywhere are talking about breast cancer awareness and early detection, there's awareness, detection, awareness, detection. At a certain level, it gets a bit monotonous. So I feel that there was a need to revive these conversations and to break that monotony, to have these conversations in a way that were more absorbed by the people that were listening, right, Ravi?
So I totally agree with the troll part you say, because I can imagine how difficult it would have been, how difficult it is to talk to a stranger on a public platform when you can't see the face. So just imagine the difficulties people face when they talk about this subject in the living room with their loved ones. But we tried to take this problem head on 5 years back. Thanks a lot, the initiative, and in the last 5 years we have touched more than 1 million people with this conversation. We have done multiple workshops, conferences, we have done educational shows, and these kits are distributed free of cost during the workshop, conference or educational kits. It was done, but somewhere, maybe as you said, that when it is continuously done the same way, there is a monotonous. We also started feeling that kuch to missing hai. Because after the workshop, when we used to go back after a few months and talk to these women on their self-examination, suddenly the answer used to be, no, it is not regular, it is now absent in my daily schedule. So the curiosity or the concern was why, okay? And then we started probing more, we got into the research, we went to the ground level to understand, why it is happening. And it was surprising or amazing, the way you want to put it across. The core problem was very simple. Yaad nahi rehta. Okay? I forget about it. Now this problem had to be solved. Okay? Now this problem in a consumer research came out very clearly that if you want to bring any change in a human, it needs to be a part of their regular habit. Or you need to bring that thing into their regular habit. If you do that, they will accept the change very fast. And that's where we then did a study and found our answer in hot water bag. Now, hot water bag, all the women use. Any kind of language you are talking, whatever stature you are, once in a month, most of the women will use hot water bag. Okay, so with this came the biggest question, that how do I use hot water bag to create that habit where they will do self-examination. So as we had got inspired by Braille, we brought the same thing on hot water bags. Okay, so the cancer mammogram has been created on the hot water bag. Now, the hot water bag is designed in a manner where the heat is distributed equally. So we had to create the mammogram, 3D mammogram, in a manner which will distribute the heat equally, plus it will give your finger the tactile memory, how does a cancer lump feels and look like. Okay, and on a monthly basis, when you are using this, it will remind you
that you need to do your self-examination. So this is a heat-activated ink that it has, and when you put hot water inside it, you can see the design. It's a hand doing a self-breast examination. And I want to say that I wish this was there when I was detected with cancer, because I would have completely changed my narrative. I would have proudly said that I've detected my cancer early, not because I'm lucky, but because I'm proactive and because I'm responsible for my own health, and I took control, I took charge of my health in my own hands. And I just want to say a small anecdote here, that I was 12 years old when I had 2 lumps in my right breast, And when we got it checked, we were told they were benign, so all good. But at that point, I got into the habit of doing my examination on a regular basis because I didn't want to have another lump appear suddenly. Or maybe against hope, I was hoping that one day I'll check myself and the lumps will not be there. But since we were not having these conversations in our living rooms, I somehow just got out of that habit and made my peace with the lumps. And me, as an educated woman who's independent, standing on her own 2 feet, fairly aware about what's going on around her, if I can underestimate the importance of self-breast examination, then imagine what a woman sitting in the rural parts of the country is going through, right? So I feel this is a revolutionary product which is comforting a woman in her menstruation cycle while also gently reminding her that she needs to check herself every now and then. It's simple, it's effective, and it's beautiful. I think this needs to be in every household, Ravi.
You know, we call it, the product is called Hug of Life. You know why it is called Hug of Life? Because we believe when you do a self-examination with this, it is the hug you are giving to yourself. And I absolutely agree with the rural and educated concept. You know, I'll also share a story. As I mentioned, we have done a lot of workshops. Okay, so I was in a village. This village has one of the highest breast cancer density on a village basis. Okay, so we wanted to do a workshop. Even the sarpanch is a woman there. Okay, so when we went, spoke about this workshop of self-examination and everything, it was surprised to know that they know the language. When I say they know the language and subject, it is they are aware about the topic of breast cancer and everything. But the irony was they were not aware that there is something called as self-examination. And the men of that village, when they heard about there is something like this, they also wanted to be a part of the workshop.
Wow.
And they had a very simple logic. I want to know this self-examination because as a village, we want to increase the percentage of cure, or you can say survival rate in our village, so that now we can teach my wife, daughter, sister, everyone about the self-examination. So that is how the narrative go. So I always believe the solution is the simplest always. Okay. So coming back to the living room conversation, the request to all the women are, please do the self-examination and be yourself. This was our time. We are signing off. I'm Ravi.
Thank you for listening to us.